Hi, Tamara Gondor here, founder of LaunchStreet, creator of the proprietary Everyday Innovators Method and the Innovation Quotient Edge assessment. I'm excited to be here with you. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, why tomorrow? Why does innovation matter so much? And where do I fit into this? How does it all come together? Well, I think it's important in order to answer that question to understand where we are today. We talk a lot about the world that we're in being volatile, uncertain, rapidly changing, ambiguous. But what does that really mean? I want to show you a little graph that I think sums it all up, but also highlights the opportunity for you. I think this graph is actually going to shed some light on what it really means when we say that we're in this volatile, uncertain, changing, ambiguous time. I think it's true, but I think we got to put some context behind it in order to understand where that opportunity is for those that seize it. So one of the directors of Google X, I think, articulated it best with this graph. He said, when you look at the rate of change that we're experiencing, it looks like this, right? It's exponential. We're up here. And really, when you look at it, just at what's happening with AI, blockchain, change in government, change in supply chain, change in workflow, change in customer demands, change in employee demands, right? This feels about right, doesn't it? We're at this massive accelerated rate of change. Yet, as he so clearly pointed out, the human ability to adapt to change looks more like this. We're here. So the rate of change is a hockey stick, yet here we are trickling along a little bit at the bottom. But here is where this is an incredible opportunity for those who seize this. I'm sure you see it. This is where the opportunity is. The opportunity is in the gap. It's always in the gaps. That's always where the opportunity lies. It's in the gaps. It's in the gaps for people who have the skill to innovate, to really help understand and to leverage this gap that we're in. For people who have the ability to help others navigate through this, navigate these uncertain, changing times, and the opportunity for innovation, new solutions, and ideas. Again, it's here. This space has a lot of room for success if we take advantage of it. But this is why when we see people resist change, when we see people fight it, when we see people and businesses become irrelevant, it's because they're on this curve and they can't figure out how to leverage innovation to become more successful. They haven't figured out how to tap their greatest competitive advantage, their innovative mind. And they haven't figured out how to be that coach, consultant, or leader that actually plays well in this space and helps others do the same. Now, we'll go into a lot more depth in human-centered innovation and playing in this gap in the Everyday Innovators Method when I see you in the workshop and throughout the tools that we provide. But for now, I just want to give you some high-level context to why the world is the way it is and where we fit into it in a positive way. And I hope that this graph also not just gives you all the things we just talked about, but maybe helps you see why perhaps you or the people around you have shown some resistance to change. Maybe where you're trying to stay on that lower curve when you need to kind of jump the curve and try to find a way to bridge that gap. Maybe why sometimes you're jumping into that gap and bridging it, and the people around you maybe are sabotaging or throwing up resistance as well. I oftentimes see people really struggle because they want to stay on that human adaptability curve on the lower curve. But I think you and I both know that that curve is what leads to irrelevancy. In order for us to really be leaders and innovators and drivers moving forward, we've got to bridge that gap. And that's what I get really excited about. That's what our work is really steeped in. And I hope you get excited about it too. It's those that embrace innovation, that become everyday innovators and help others do the same, that actually leverage the times that we're in. It's one of the reasons our clients tell us that the Everyday Innovator Method works so well. It's because it takes this reality that we're in, addresses the gap that we face between accelerated change and human ability to adapt to change. And what we do is we create people who are successful in playing in the gaps and lead others to do the same. And the one thing I want you to remember here is that it's in the gaps that you find tremendous innovation, opportunity, new paths to success. And when you look around you at those that are thriving, those that are actually moving forward well in today's time, there are people and businesses, teams that play in the gaps. And oftentimes the gap is in a very ambiguous, unclear place to play. And I think what clients have told us, one of the reasons they love our method is because we help make the gap a foundation for their success. We put some context, some structures, and some methodology and approach that helps you leverage the gap that we're experiencing, helps minimize that resistance to change. Oftentimes, what I find with people is that there's that resistance because they don't understand why there's such a big disconnect between them and what's going on around them, between them and the goals they're trying to achieve that look different than yesterday's goals. We all have to come to the realization at some point, particularly in these accelerated times, that the methods that we used to be successful yesterday are not the methods that we need to be successful today. So we got to go elevate our game, play in that gap, and find a way to bridge the two so that we and the people around us can be successful. So I hope you'll take some time to think about this chart and what we just talked about. Like I said, it I think really articulates the challenge that we face and how we can turn that challenge into our greatest competitive advantage.